He did it.
Oh my god, dude.
I told you people. I told you all. I've been telling you people, anybody any of my readers, any of my audience, any of my listeners, for 25 years I've been telling you. The Clintons always get away with it. Now, we should have learned that lesson back in the 90s. The Clintons always get away with it. We thought that we had the Clintons when the Jennifer Flowers allegations erupted. Right after, what year was that? Super Bowl 28? No, Super Bowl 27, I think. No, actually, it was after Super Bowl 26. That's right, Super Bowl 26. You know, early 1990, January of 1992. Remember the 60 Minutes interview, the Blue Plate special interview with Billary, and we thought, Clinton's finished. He can't possibly win now, and then of course he did. And all the other scandals, Whitewater, Mena, Arkansas, Waco, and the travel office, and cattle futures, and just throughout the years, the Chinese funny money scandal from the 1996 Clinton re-election campaign, and what else? Monica Lewinsky, of course, pardoning Mark Rich on the way out the door at the end of the Clinton presidency. You think that at a certain point, conservatives would have figured out the Clintons always get away with it. Whatever it is, whatever the offense, whatever the crime, whatever the scandal, they always get away with it. And the closest they came to not getting away with it was the Monica Lewinsky affair. And that was only because Clinton left his pecker tracks on her dress. And even then, yeah, he got impeached, but he was more popular after that than he was before. The Clintons always get away with it. And it applies just as much to Mrs. Clinton. I mentioned the cattle futures before. I mentioned the travel office before. And then, after basically sitting on her fat ass and doing nothing for 8 years in the Senate, she became Barack Obama's Commissar of State. And then we all know what a disaster that was. And, you know, the reset button, and Benghazi, and the Clinton Foundation, and now Emailgate. And she's gotten away with it all. Back in July, James Comey, FBI director, no doubt following orders from above, announced they were not going to criminally indict Hillary Clinton on Emailgate, which is a roaring joke because Mrs. Clinton clearly satisfied the gross negligence clause of the applicable federal statute. Whether or not she deliberately tried to give away state secrets to our enemies, she definitely was grossly negligent. She was the only people she cared about keeping secrets from was the American people. She may or may not have been, willing or eager to share U.S. secrets, American secrets, with the Russians, with the Chicons, with the Iranians, with the North Koreans. She just didn't care. All she wanted to do was keep secrets from Congress, keep secrets from any Freedom of Information Act requests, keep secrets from the American people. Of course, she should be criminally indicted. She should have been criminally indicted years ago. She never even should have gotten the chance to become Commissar of State. Certainly not to run for the Democrat presidential nomination in 2016. I mean, that's why I was absolutely convinced. That's why I wrote on politicalpistachio.com. That's why I said on all my podcasts and radio programs that there is no way the Democrats are going to be so stupid as to nominate Hillary Clinton. She's a terrible candidate. She's unlikable. The more visible she is, the more people can't stand her. People don't trust her. She's abrasive. She is off-putting. And she's got this mountain, this Himalayas of scandal baggage dragging behind her. There's no way the Democrats are going to be that stupid. And then they were. Why? What is the overarching reason for all of this? The Clintons always get away with it. And then, of course, never to be outdone in the stupid party department, the Republicans had to go and nominate Donald Trump, the one candidate that Hillary Clinton could defeat. And so Hillary has been leading by low to high single digits from the conventions onward. And we get to a week ago Friday, and of course, this same FBI Director James Comey announced that the FBI was reopening its investigation of Emailgate because they had new evidence, 650,000 emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop and whatever other devices. Because then, you see, Anthony Weiner's estranged ex-wife, or estranged wife, or ex-wife, are they divorced yet? I don't know. I don't care either. Is Huma Abedin Weiner, who just happens to be Hillary Clinton's right-hand woman. And ergo, And plus 650,000 emails. How many emails were on Mrs. Clinton's homebrew server? Maybe half that many? And remember, each count of gross negligence in putting government emails with classified information in public view, each count, maximum of 10 years in jail. So I forget the tally. It's been too long. But I had a running tally. I think that we had gotten up to Hillary Clinton spending. Oh, I think it was until like the 82nd century behind bars. Potentially, it wouldn't happen that way, of course. The point is, more than enough to criminally indict Hillary Clinton, and Trumplicans once again got snookered. You know, it is a bedrock, foundational, personal philosophy of mine. Whenever something like this happens, whenever something looks like it's too good to be true, it probably is. Always wait for the other shoe to drop. Wait for the other shoe to drop. James Comey reopens the Emailgate investigation conducted by the FBI. You know, right after that happened, like last weekend, it came out that the FBI official who was in charge of the reopened FBI investigation of Emailgate over these 650,000 additional emails on Anthony Weiner's server just happened to be an advisor to and have a son working as an intern for the Hillary Clinton campaign. Always wait for the other shoe to drop. Ladies and gentlemen. So, I mean, as soon as I saw that, I said, well, you really got Hillary where you want her, right? No, you don't. Because the Clintons always get away with it. But Trumplicans convince themselves, hey, this is the Hail Mary. Now we got her. We finally got her where we want her. We're going to throw her in jail. We're going to... Never mind that, well, you do have to, like, criminally indict her first, and then she's entitled to a fair trial under the Bill of Rights, and, you know, they just want to cut to the chase, but at any rate, they just convinced, I mean, because Trumplicans are suckers. Trumplicans, I mean, is it not blatantly obvious, day glow obvious, how Trump supporters got fooled by Donald Trump in the first place? It's like they want to be bilked. It's like they want to be fooled. It's like they want to be skinned repeatedly. You know, they thought they had her, and I told them, I said, don't jump to that conclusion. There's always another shoe to drop when the Clintons are concerned. Always. And yesterday, Sunday, November 6th, 2016, the other shoe dropped. It fell. And the headline says it all, my friends. Breaking at redstate.com. Paterico doing the honors. Breaking! Comey says email investigation over! Again! Hillary will not be charged! Trumplicans' heads explode like Michael Ironside in Scanners. Yeah, how's that for a November surprise to the October surprise. The Clintons always get away with it. That's right. FBI Director James Comey has written a letter to several members of Congress, saying, just like he did 9 days earlier, saying that the FBI has completed its review. 650,000 emails reviewed in barely more than a week. Good Lord, how long did it take him to wade through half that many from Hillary Clinton's homebrew server? The fix with the Clintons, if you don't like, they always get away with it. Try the fix is always in. And by the way, if you think that Trumplicans and Trump himself have overused the term rigged up until now, they've only just begun, ladies and gentlemen. Comey's letter said the FBI has completed its review of the additional emails relevant to the investigation of Hillary Clinton. Comey says, we have not changed our conclusions from July. I'm sorry. It's not funny. It is an outrage. It is a mockery of justice. But don't we have to be so used to it by now that you just laugh cynically? Why do you think I'm a cynic? Because this is how this stuff always turns out. Please, please tell me you're not surprised by this. Yeah, of course, in July, Comey said he would also be recommending against prosecution. Here's the text of the letter that he sent. He issued it to Senate Committee on Intelligence Chairman Richard Burr of North Carolina, and let's see, Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, Chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chuck Grassley, Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Robert Goodlate, Chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee, Richard Shelby, Chairman of the House Appropriations Committee, John Culbertson, Chairman of the, well, soon-to-be ex-chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, Ron Johnson, and Chairman of the House Government Reform and Oversight Committee, Jason Chaffetz. I write, the text begins, to supplement my October 28, 2016 letter that notified you the FBI would be taking additional investigative steps with respect to former Commissar of State Hillary Clinton's use of a personal email server. Since my letter, the FBI investigative team has been remember the one headed up by the Hillary Clinton campaign advisor who also has a kid working as an intern for her campaign. That investigative team has been working around the clock to process and review a large volume of emails from a device obtained in connection with an unrelated criminal investigation. During that process, we reviewed all of the communications that were to or from Hillary Clinton while she was Commissar of State. Based on our review, we have not changed our conclusions that we expressed in July with respect to Commissar Hillary Clinton. I am very grateful to the professionals at the FBI for doing an extraordinary amount of high-quality work in a short period of time. Sincerely yours, James B. Comey, Director. The Clintons always get away with it. And so, with 2 days to go in the election, Hillary Clinton is once again officially off the hook. All the commercials, all the ads, all the tweets, all the Facebook posts asking the question, do you really want to elect a candidate who is under criminal investigation? Whoop! Out the window. Gone. Oh boy, it makes you wonder what it would be like to be in the Clinton shoes. To be bulletproof, to be above the law, because that's what they are. You don't have to like it, and I don't like it any more than any of you do, but they are. They're above the law. They're untouchable. They're bulletproof, and they're going back to the White House. Wait, I've got my final election prediction, Electoral College, coming up tomorrow. And of course, you can count on this. Donald Trump is about, and his supporters are about to go ballistic. I wonder if his handlers will be able to restrain him any further. But then, if that won't help him, that won't help him. But, nothing can help at this point. If you're a Trump supporter, you just don't want to admit it. Now, to be clear, I suppose to be thorough and do all our due diligence here, Director Comey did not officially say the investigation is over, and technically it could always be reopened. However, with this announcement, make no mistake, as a practical matter, it's over. They got away with it. Again. The Clintons, that is. There's no reason to pull any punches about what this means as a practical matter, hence the deadline. Now, and again, to complete my due diligence on this, there's no way to know from polling, since it was just yesterday. There's no way to know from polling what effect this latest turn will have on the race, because the announcement that the Emailgate investigation was being reopened definitely hurt Mrs. Clinton. She went from cruising to victory to now it's going to be kind of close. She's still going to win, but not by as much as it looked like. It's not going to be nearly as comfortable. And that just makes it all the more of a certainty that there's going to be a post-election campaign, most likely in Florida. Yeah, let's relive that nightmare again. Only this time, it will be the Republican, quote unquote, trying to sue his way to victory in a bloodless coup d'etat from the Democrat. So I suppose that's mixing things up a bit. But I'm really not entirely sure what effect this latest twist will have. I don't know. I mean, again, announcing the reopening of the Emailgate investigation hurt Mrs. Clinton. Announcing that, psych, just never mind, just kidding. I mean, will low information voters look at that and say, okay, Hillary's clear again. We're good. We can vote for her. Or will a lot of even low information voters say, "Oh God, you got this is a final straw. Screw her. I'm voting for Trump," or whatever. I don't know. It might backfire on the Dems, or it might be the final nail in Donald Trump's coffin. Guess we'll find out tomorrow. Now, when I share this second item in the second segment here with you, it's the New York Times story painting the portrait of a seething, vindictive Donald Trump in his final days of his campaign. Just remember, this is before Comey's latest announcement yesterday. This doesn't even include that. And he's already seething. It's a wonder he didn't have a stroke last night, I'm telling you. Paterico did the honors on this one as well. Now, on the one hand, it's the New York Times, so, all the news, it's all the views that are fit to print, the New York Slimes. We all know the endearing nicknames for the paper of Democrat record. But on the other hand, it is Donald Trump. So it's entirely plausible. See, the New York Times has a long piece. It was in yesterday's New York Times on the final days of Donald Trump's presidential campaign, entitled "Inside Donald Trump's Last Stand, an Anxious Nominee Seeks Assurance." See what I mean about you can entirely believe this New York Times story? It sure sounds like Trump. It also sounds like an accountable loser, doesn't it? The first name on the byline is Maggie Haberman, of whom the Hillary Clinton campaign said, quote, "We can do the most shaping by going to Maggie." Trump helps them do it. He can't help it. Haberman has specialized in stories portraying Trump as a beleaguered candidate hiding in his fortress. In other words, as a low-energy beta male. And with the election just 2 days away, it would be very good shaping to have a piece portraying Trump as sleepless and constantly seeking reassurance. Here's a quote from the New York Times piece. "Donald Trump is not sleeping much these days." But then for somebody who goes on late-night tweet storms of raging vindictiveness and vengefulness anyway, when does he ever? Aboard, I love this description, aboard his gold-plated jumbo jet. Oh boy, why you wanted him, Trumplicans? He's your problem, not ours. The Republican nominee does not like to rest or be alone with his thoughts. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Insisting that aides stay up and keep talking to him. In other words, he prefers the soothing, whispery voice of his son-in-law. In other words, his son-in-law is a homosexual. That seems to be what the implication is. Who'd have thunk it? The New York Times dog whistle homophobic? Trump requires constant assurance that his candidacy is on track. "Look at that crowd," he exclaimed a few days ago as he flew across Florida. Like the size of a crowd has to do with anything. Turning to his young press secretary as a TV tuned to Fox News, Trump News, showed images of what he claimed were thousands of people waiting for him on the ground below. And he is struggling to suppress his bottomless need for attention. He's not trying to suppress anything, ladies and gentlemen. As he stood next to the breakfast buffet at his golf club in Doral, Florida, eyeing a tray of pork sausages, little phallic dog whistle there. He sought to convey restraint when approached by a reporter from the New York Times. The implication being he failed miserably. "I'm on message," Trump asserted with effort. "I'm on message. I'm not playing around. In fact, I'm a little nervous standing here talking to you even for just a minute." Because he just must go off message. "Give me my phone." But Haberman's name is not the only one on the piece. And there is plenty in the article that rings true. So true. I'm speaking in particular of the sections of the article that remind us that while his handlers have been snatching away the keys to Donald Trump's Twitter account and gluing him to teleprompters, his greatest dreams these days are the ways that he will take revenge. on those who dared criticize him. Returning to the quote from the New York Times, on the surface there is the semblance of stability that is robbing Hillary Clinton of her most potent weapon, Trump's self-sabotaging eruptions, which have repeatedly undermined his candidacy. Underneath that veneer, turbulence still reigns, making it difficult for him to overcome all of the obstacles blocking his path to the White House. The contrasts pervade his campaign. Aides to Trump have finally wrested away the Twitter account that he used colorfully and often counterproductively to savage his rivals. But offline, Trump still privately muses about all the ways he will punish his enemies after Election Day, including a threat to fund a super PAC with vengeance as its core mission.
Again, he tasks me. He tasks me, and I shall have him. I'll chase him round the moons of Nibia and round the Antares maelstrom and round perdition's flames before I give him up.
The childish elevation of personal grievances above all else does not feel like it's made up. And we have the evidence of the Gettysburg speech to prove that. Trump's penchant for threats sometimes overcomes any common sense notion of restraint for the greater good. Remember this, ladies and gentlemen? Haberman and company have more on that as well. Trump's aides were just as thrown by the Access Hollywood grab them by the pussy tape, but they saw a chance to salvage his candidacy on a Civil War battlefield, no less. Civil War. Oh boy, they had no concept of optics, do they? Trump's aides outlined 15 bullet points for him to deliver during an October 22nd speech in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, to focus voters on a new theme of cleaning up government. Remember that for a couple days last week there was some sort of Trump's new contract with America, something or other, that died of mourning. Like Trump could carry that football, so to speak. Even as several women, okay, so it was week before last, even though several women came forward to accuse him of groping them just as he had described in the Pussygate recording. But Trump grew frustrated with the instructions. He's a counterpuncher, remember? Skin thinner than that of my father, and if you knew my father, the condition of my father's skin, you would know just how thin that really is. By the time he was done advising or revising the proposed speech, only about a half dozen of the original suggestions remained. In other words, this was Trump's opportunity to take the high road, to ignore his enemies, and think how this would have dovetailed with the reopening of the Emailgate investigation. On the one hand, here's Trump actually taking the high road, and on the other hand, Emailgate reopens, and Hillary Clinton gets taken down it reminds everybody what a crook and what a unconvicted felon she is. You know, this would have set that up perfectly. Instead, he had to counterpunch in as petty and small and vindictive a fashion as is his trademark. Over the firm objections of his top advisors, Trump insisted on using the occasion to issue a remarkable threat. Coming from someone who is trying to become president of the United States, no less, that he would sue all of the women who had gone public with the accusations, no matter how accurate they are. as the advisors begged him to reconsider. Remember, nobody controls Trump? Remember how so many conservatives think, well, once he's in the White House, once he's in the Oval Office, why then we can put conservative advisors around him and they can steer him in the right direction. Whatever happened to nobody controls Trump? Here's a perfect example of it. As the advisors begged Trump to reconsider because it would make him seem small, they warned, and undermine a pivotal speech, Trump was adamant. There had to be a severe penalty for those who dared to attack him, he said. He could not just sit back and let these women come at me, as opposed to come on him, I suppose. He told one of them, nobody controls Trump. Can you imagine this guy with the nuclear launch codes? Can you imagine this guy in control of the United States military? Can you imagine this guy with control over the FBI, over the IRS? I mean, we've seen what thin-skinned despots do in those situations. We've seen it for the past 8 years. Now you don't want to stop that. You just want your own guy doing it? That's not principle. That's tribalistic revenge. That's just rival gangs. But apparently the Trumplican party doesn't stand for anything more than that anymore. And of course, I mean, his advisors were right. The speech was roundly criticized and seemed strikingly out of place on such sacred and historic ground. The Grievanceburg Address is what one journalist deemed it. In other words, he stepped all over an opportunity to maybe actually take the upper hand in the presidential race with under 2 weeks left to go. This was his opportunity. This might have been the turning point toward a Trump victory. Instead, Trump had to be Trump because nobody controls Trump, which I will remind you all again, Trumplicans thought was his best selling point back in the primaries. And as Ivan and many others like me of like mind have been pointing out over that same stretch of time, nobody controls Trump, not even Trump. Not even when it would help him to do so. Here's another interesting detail. Trump does not use a computer, ladies and gentlemen. Trump, who does not use a computer, rails against the campaign's expenditure of tens of millions on digital ads, skeptical that this has narcissist written all over it, folks. Skeptical that spots that he never sees could have any effect. He is so wrapped up in himself that he can't imagine that anybody else thinks any differently than he does. The whole world thinks like he does. The whole world doesn't use computers. Somehow. And if they do, they shouldn't, because he doesn't. What an ignoramus. What an ultramaroon. What a nincowpoop. What a gullible. By the way, I thought I had followed this campaign pretty closely, and I have to admit I did not realize that Donald Trump doesn't use a computer. Well, I mean, Twitter. He's on Twitter all the time. After reading this passage, I did some Googling and see it has been reported before, but I had missed it. Although, really, it's not terribly surprising when you stop and think about it. I'm going to guess that everyone reading this now relies on their computer as a way to gather news and information. The internet is the single greatest tool for spreading knowledge that humans have ever invented. Well, that and cute cat pictures and porn, I guess. And Donald Trump, to the extent he takes advantage of it, apparently does so by proxy. Whatever his aides spoon feed him is what he gets. In other words, his boot-licking, ass-kissing, anal-linguing, sycophant yes men. Otherwise, apparently, Trump gets his information from the shows. Or, in other words, Donald Trump is a low information voter. So it stands to reason that he would be a low information candidate. Well, that's reassuring for a potential president, isn't it? There's much, much more in there, and I encourage you to go and read the whole thing. It's at let's see, nytimes.com/2016/11/07/US/politics/Donald Trump presidential race.html. So go, if you want to study the fish wrap, then have at it. It's at that link. Yes, Donald Trump is an awful, vindictive person, and even if the New York Times agrees, but stop clocks are right twice a day, I should hasten to add. And yet, what this story means might surprise you. See, I don't think this is what Maggie Haberman and company intended, but on reflection, this article tells us more about Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and the state of our country than it tells us about Donald Trump. Because, placing idiot fanatics and Nazi triumphalists aside, most sentient Americans know all this about Donald Trump. He's been on the national stage for over 30 years. I mean, how do you think that he got to be Donald Trump? How do you think he got to be this celebrity figure? I mean, all these things are what has made Trump entertaining to a lot of foolish people for all this time. And and now, of course, entertainment and politics have merged. Politics is downstream from culture. We are now a laughably unserious country. Now, and most sentient Americans know all this about Donald Trump, and yet almost half of them are considering voting for Trump anyway. What does that say? What does that say, folks? On one hand, it says a lot of voters are stupid. But that's not all it says. Not by a long shot, as Stone Cold Steve Austin used to say. It also says that this country must be reeling so badly from the staggering premium increases of Obamacare, the job losses, malaise, the economic depression, the doubling of our national debt in just 8 years, the endless revelations of dishonesty and corruption by the Clintons, which is also not news, the leaks of big media collusion between the left and Trump and big media, that the American people must be really, really fed up with the wretched state of our country to be even thinking about putting a man as manifestly awful, deceitful, narcissistic, pig-ignorant, and utterly worthless as Donald Trump in the Oval Office, which is a long, roundabout way of saying Trump voters are stupid. Because Donald Trump wouldn't produce results any different than Hillary Clinton would. What does that tell you about how mad people are, Maggie Haberman or Paderico? Well, it tells you that the meaning of the word mad that you're using here is not one of emotional state, but of, shall we say, mental irregularity. And remember, That's before James Comey dropped the other Emailgate shoe yesterday. And that brings us to this morning and a contemplation of what it must be like to be Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House of Representatives. The man who did not want to endorse Trump, but then cucked and bent the knee to him anyway. The man who has been begging him to not be Trump over the course of this general campaign, which of course was always a forlorn hope, more recently declined to campaign with Trump in Ryan's home state of Wisconsin after the Pussygate scandal erupted, and who has been under withering attack by Trump and his supporters, up to and including a drive to get him thrown out of the House speakership in retaliation, even though Ryan has never withdrawn that endorsement. He's never withdrawn it. I mean, that's why I never took his criticism of Trump after Pussygate erupted seriously, because anybody who was genuinely critical of Donald Trump after Pussygate would have withdrawn their endorsement if they had offered one previously. Ryan should have withdrawn his endorsement of Trump if he was going to criticize Trump. He didn't withdraw that endorsement, and therefore any criticism he offered was meaningless. It was empty words. Just hot air. So Ryan didn't withdraw his endorsement. Well, now after yesterday's Comey's psych, never mind, his Emily Latella impression, Speaker Ryan tried to rally Republicans after this body blow, this crushing disappointment, this goal line interception, something that we Seahawk fans are very familiar with, throwing a goal line interception right at the end with the championship on the line. That's what that was yesterday, Trumplicans. That was a goal line interception, killing your team's chances of winning. And as Susan Wright pointed out this morning, it's like desperation is setting in. We could have used some of this during the primaries, of course, when it could have helped us, actually, by getting us a nominee who could actually win. Anyway, this is from the Washington Examiner. House Speaker Paul Ryan encouraged Republicans to support Donald Trump and bring the Clinton era to an end after learning on Sunday that FBI Director James Comey will stand by his original decision not to recommend charges against Hillary Clinton over her handling of classified material, which takes out of the hands of Trump and his supporters the last best argument against Hillary Clinton. Why do you want to elect as the next president somebody who was already under criminal investigation? Now, no, she won't be. That was their last best shot. That was their Hail Mary. And now they don't have it anymore. Regardless of this decision, the undisputed finding of the FBI's investigation is that Commissar Clinton put our nation's secrets at risk and in doing so compromised our national security, Ryan said in a statement, which is absolutely true, but you can't say regardless of this decision. I mean, yes, the undisputed finding of the FBI's investigation is that Hillary Clinton put our nation's secrets at risk and in doing so compromised our national security. That's absolute true. That is absolute fact. And she's not going to be criminally prosecuted for it. And if she's not going to be criminally prosecuted for it, then all that stuff remains inside baseball. Low information voters won't look into it, won't research it, won't educate themselves. All they know is, well, Mrs. Clinton's been cleared, so she's innocent. Now, like I say, maybe that'll be like the tipping point. Maybe enough low information voters will say, "Oh, come on, you guys, and I've had it with this woman." Maybe, You never know how those things, breaking at the last minute, maybe it'll boomerang on Mrs. Clinton. But there's no, based on the track record, there's no reason to think that's going to happen. It's possible. Is it probable? I mean, let's reset the table here. We know Hillary Clinton is corrupt. 25 years on the national stage. If anybody has paid attention to politics at all over that time, my God, there's no way you cannot know that Hillary Clinton is corrupt. Most of us don't even need an FBI investigation to come to that conclusion. Just the name, Clinton, should inspire immediate pause, followed by narrowed, squinting eyes and the feeling of foreboding. She is Cruella de Vil, Genghis Khan, or if you want the John Kerry pronunciation, Genghis Khan, and Bertie Madoff, all rolled into one atrocious pantsuit. Ryan concluded his remarks by saying, "Fortunately, the American people have the opportunity to ensure Commissar Clinton never gets her hands on classified information again. Let's bring the Clinton era to an end by voting for Donald Trump on Tuesday." Pig's eye. Yeah, let's talk about Donald Trump for a minute. Let's reset the table on him as well. Donald Trump is Ronald McDonald, Scrooge McDuck, and a dead, bloated beaver carcass combined. He's not exactly the kind of candidate that inspires patriotic fervor unless you're part of his cult. And even then, there's very little Americana involved in the worship of a reality TV hairpiece. Really, the only difference between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton on corruption is that Donald Trump hasn't had a chance to help himself from the same buffet from which the Clintons have been feeding for the past quarter century. He just hasn't had a chance to get to that table yet. If he did, boy, would he gorge himself. There is not a blind trust that could keep him from controlling his business empire from the Oval Office. You know he would. You think you've seen scandals from the Clintons? Oh, boy. Speaker Ryan was supposed to campaign. Now, this is very interesting, isn't it? Speaker Ryan was supposed to campaign with Trump yesterday, but Trump's campaign canceled plans for that rally last week. Almost like it's a tit for tat. Well, you canceled on me, so I'm going to cancel on you. Even though, presumably, the purpose of Ryan campaigning with Trump yesterday would have been to help Trump. Boy, you know what really, what this country needs more than anything else is a return to normalcy. What this country needs more than anything else is an end to the drama. What this country needs more than anything else is to take entertainment out of politics. We need boring, effective politicians. No more celebrities, no more outsiders. Hell, you want to reduce the media's influence over politics? Stop feeding them what they want. Prove that you can think for yourselves. Don't be manipulated by them. Which is exactly what happened with the Republican nominating electorate nominating Donald J. Trump. They recognize marks when they see them. Trumplicans. The announcement by FBI Director James Comey really tripped up the Trump campaign in these last hours before the election because they're amateurs, they're outsiders, they don't know what the bleep they're doing. A professional campaign would not have been tripped up. They would have been prepared for that. They would have been expecting it. They wouldn't have gotten wrapped up in it. They wouldn't have extended themselves and made a bunch of ads talking about how, do you really want to nominate? Do you really want to elect somebody who's as president of the United States who's under criminal investigation? All that, out the window. With 2 days to go. Just as certainly as it threw Democrats when Comey sent the initial letter to Congress informing them that they had found more emails and were reopening the investigation. I mean, it was, I think Comey is conducting bipartisan psychological experiments in Pavlovian manipulation. I think Comey is I think he's yanking both sides. That's what I think. I mean, if you were going to, think about it. If that's what you were planning to do, if you were going to have a little fun with this presidential campaign and you're in James Comey's position, isn't this how you would have done it? Drop a bombshell about reopening the Emailgate investigation with 10 days to go, and then a week later, 2 days before the election, turn around and say, never mind. Never mind, nah, not going to do it. Psych. I don't know. I'm not saying that Comey actually did that's what his motivation was. I'm just saying if it was, this is pretty much how it would have played out. I mean, drive the Republicans insane, and then turn around and drive the Democrats insane, and then turn around again and drive the Republicans insane again. I mean, hey, you people, you wanted entertainment in politics. You wanted drama in politics. Be careful what you wish for. That's all I can tell you. Because I got no sympathy for any of you on any of this crap. While the Democrats, or ultimately, the problem isn't with Comey, folks. I mean, nobody knows what to think of the FBI and in particular Comey at this point. I mean, but ultimately the problem isn't him. And it isn't the FBI. It's with the two deeply flawed, awful candidates, and more specifically, with the supporters who nominated them. While the Democrats must deal with their candidate's penchant for collecting scandals and intensely unlikable image, the Republicans must face the facts that they have the one candidate in the entire party who is dogged by just as many scandals and who is so utterly unqualified and unlikable that he makes Mrs. Clinton look better by comparison. And that is the one and only reason why Hillary Clinton is going to be elected tomorrow, President of the United States. God help us all.